Welcome back YouTube to another Fantasy Football Scout video with me, Lee, and this is Sam from FPL Family. Now, game week 6, very pleased myself to have that in the rearview mirror. Wasn't a good game week for me from an FPL perspective, but let's find out whether it was a good game week for me from a points prediction perspective. Give us the results from last week.
I will. Before I give them though, I will say, game week 6 was an anomaly. Maybe the results might be too.
It was a weird game week, wasn't it?
Oh my gosh, wasn't it just? Right, let's start with my team then, as I had the differentials, the under 10% owned players for this week. And, you know, it's not so often that you can sit here and go, I'm going to have Bale, I'm going to have Aguero.
Yeah, you had some unbelievable differentials.
Unbelievable picks. Bale, who didn't play, 0 points. Aguero went off at half-time injured, 1 point. Thanks, guys.
They were risky differential picks, right?
Well, Aguero wasn't, right? Aguero's going to play, you know, all right. I wasn't necessarily expecting 90 minutes out of Aguero, given he was coming back from injury, but I was expecting more than 45 minutes and another injury from him. But there we are. And Bale, Bale was a bit of a risk, but having played as well as he did in the Champions League, seemed like it was a Champions League. I've gone back a season.
You wish Champions League.
It felt like a risk worth taking.
I noticed Mourinho's comments today. Did you see that? What did he say? He said that we're starting to see, we're starting to see Bale come back, but we're starting to see the data look right for Bale. So they're obviously in that training centre down there in North London, looking at Bale's data and going, he's ready. And I think he's going to play in Europa League, and I think he's going to start game week 7.
So I think he will start in the Europa League on Thursday evening. I think he and a number of others actually that missed out will start. But unfortunately for me, game week 6, 0 points. Mourinho can even...
So who did you have in defence last week as well?
Oh, I had the wonderful, normally, Mings, who we all thought would keep a clean sheet. And then Aston Villa got Bamforded. And so naught for him as well. So
did you get a net total of 0?
1.
Brilliant. Go on then, I've got to have beaten that,
should have been amazing. Well, this is why I think it's an anomaly of a week, because you had Sayas, the most lucky pick ever.
Yeah.
Wolves lose their clean sheet.
That was jamming.
He goes off before, keeps the clean sheet, and because they've lost the clean sheet,
Gets
he also
a
bonus point.
Yeah.
So he got 7.
Actually, my actual FPL team have Kilman, so I can't be happy about that. But for the purposes of this, I'll be happy.
I mean, so you've won it on him alone.
Good.
In fact, you won it on Salah alone, just because he got 2. So, yeah, you had Salah, and of course you had Harry Kane. So what's that in total? You had 14. So
14.
Quite
comprehensive.
It was this
The
week.
comeback is on, guys. What's the overall scores now? 5-2?
Yeah, I mean, like I've said a few times now, anomaly, normal service will resume come game week 7.
It's fine, 5-2. I'll take that being 5-0 down. 5-2. The comeback is on, and we have some picks, guys, for game week 7. Now, this week, you've got the over 10%. So you've got the I can pick anyone heavy hitters.
Yeah.
I've got the under 10% differentials. And as usual, guys, we'll do a defender, a midfielder, and a forward each, and we can't pick 2 players from the same team. So let's kick off with defenders. And your defender of choice, over 10% owned. I like this one. 17.3% owned already. Ben Chilwell from Chelsea. Started very, very well indeed his Chelsea career and looks really, really good. A nice pick, I think.
Yeah, this is one that I would really like in my actual FPL team, and I currently don't have. He's one that I'm looking at. How can I manufacture him in? Obviously, 3 starts in the Premier League for him. 3 starts across competitions for him, Mendy and Silva together, and 3 clean sheets in that.
The keeper's making a difference, isn't he?
Huge difference in terms of just the whole Chelsea defence looked better FPL options as a result of Mendy.
So Thiago Silva, absolutely.
And I think for me, Chilwell, 3 Premier League starts, 3 returns in every single game week that he's played so far. And what's interesting for me is that from across the whole of the Chelsea team, he has created more chances than anyone else.
Doesn't surprise me.
Even in 3 games played, you know, some of them have played all 6 game weeks. He's created the most chances across the entire Chelsea team, not just in Chelsea defenders, the whole team.
Big names in that Chelsea squad as well. So
Absolutely.
for Chilwell to be the most creative asset is quite something.
You know, when you're talking about being above, you know, Werner's and the Pulisic's of this world, Mason Mount,
Havertz, right?
all of those guys, these are all big names who really should be creating more chances than your defender is. But Ben Chilwell has looked absolutely outstanding for Chelsea, and I can see that continuing into game week 7 and actually beyond that, because Chelsea have got a really nice bank of fixtures that are coming up. I think it's not until the Spurs game in game week 10 where they look like they might have a difficulty.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
Clean sheets potential, attacking potential. I'll give you Ben Chilwell.
I like him. Yeah, no other defender can match him for touches, successful crosses, chances created, or as you suggested, XA, expected assists since he made his debut. So he is ticking all the right FPL boxes and he's getting the points as well. So listen, you do have to shell out a little bit more, 5.8 million, but I think he's worth it. He's on my radar and I'm looking at him too. I'm going to counter that with another new player. I say Ben Chilwell's not new to the league, is he? But he's new to Chelsea. Well, this guy is new to the league. And I'll tell you what, he has settled in, I think, phenomenally well into this Spurs side. Now, coming along and arriving at Spurs at the same time as Gareth Bale, I think has done... how do you say this guy's name? Are we saying Reguilon? Reguilon, okay, not Regulion as I said at the beginning.
Reguilon is okay. I think he doesn't mind.
He doesn't mind, does he? Reguilon, I'm going to search. Reguilon has come into the Spurs side and he has settled right in. Now, a lot of you guys will be looking at this going, well, hold on, he didn't play in that last game against Burnley, so rotation risk, that's a risky pick, Lee. I hear you, but I think Mourinho got that tactically right that game against Burnley. He was prepared for not just a physical battle, but an aerial battle as well. And I think he played Davis and Aurier because of that. I suspect that both Reguilon and Doherty are going to come back into the side. Be interesting to see how he sets up actually in the Europa League, not the Champions League, Europa League on Thursday night. I think those two guys will come back in because actually the creativity was actually missing a little bit against Burnley and it affected Kane and Son's game actually a little bit. But with Reguilon and Doherty coming back in, I think we'll see the best again from Kane and Son. Now listen, Brighton are not exactly pushovers. They can be quite physical themselves, particularly from set pieces. I noticed they do create a chance or two, but listen, they'll be coming to Spurs without one of their key aerial threats, Lewis Dunk. And I think Mourinho will know that, and tactically he will go for the more creative fullbacks. And Reguilon, I think, is going to get some points.
I think he's a really nice pick for this week. I think you're absolutely right in what you said about the reasons why Mourinho played the side that he did against Burnley. Matt Doherty did play though. Aurier didn't start in that game.
Okay. Right.
So I think that was on the basis of the mistake that Aurier made in game week 5. I think
that's true. He dropped him for that, didn't he? Yeah, you're right.
Don't think we'll see him again for a little while.
Does that Mourinho, doesn't it? Don't you dare make a mistake.
If you make a mistake,
you are gone.
You will be punished. Whereas I think Reguilon, I don't think it was a case that you're not starting because you've done anything wrong. In fact, I think it was the total opposite. I think it was you've not done anything because you've done everything right. Actually, you're going forward, you're attacking, you're doing all the things that I want you to do. But in this game on a Monday night in Burnley, and the way that Burnley are going to set out and the aerial threat that they provide, that's a difficult game, and maybe that's a bit more suited to Ben Davis's game than it is Reguilon's. So for me, I think he's a lovely pick. I think as far as differentials go, I actually think that he won't stay a differential for too long if Spurs can put a nice run together, because much like Ben Chilwell, the attacking potential is clear to see. It's just can he kind of manoeuvre himself into all those positions, because at the minute there's a little bit of I'm going to pass the ball to Kane and then Kane's going to give it to Sonny going on, and I think the more confidence he gets and the more minutes he gets on the pitch, the more that I'm just going to swing it in and see. All right,
well listen, you shouldn't be supporting my picks, you should be supporting Ben. But listen, both good picks, both really good picks.
It's my boy.
Let's move into midfield, and your heavy hitter in midfield is an asset that actually we're all happy is back. And I don't think you're going to get Kevin De Bruyne at 15.3% ownership many times in FPL. We've certainly seen him up in the 30s, 40s and 50s, certainly last season at the beginning of this year. So I think if he comes back to the fore as we know and love with Kevin De Bruyne, he won't stay at 15.3 for very long. Sheffield United away for Man City. We've seen Man City struggle in recent times, particularly with no Aguero, hamstring injury again, or some actually a new injury potentially for Aguero. And Jesus still a few weeks away from full fitness. And we saw in recent weeks how they struggled without that number 9. And Sterling, not really the right player in the right position there. So how do you think that's going to affect KDB?
Well, I think we found a solution to it in the Champions League on Tuesday evening, because Torres played up in a false 9. And actually what we saw from Man City was a lot more in of kind of Man City of old, a lot quicker pace through the field. They were a lot more driven in what they were doing, and I think it enabled the creative players in the middle, the likes of KDB and Sterling, to just have a bit more freedom and a bit more flexibility, because Torres was up there and there was somebody to aim at that wasn't Sterling. Because I think what happens when you play Sterling in that false 9 is there's something missing from the midfield then, because of course you've taken one of your key midfielders and moved them up top. So by playing Torres up there, it made a massive difference. Now, obviously, got 2 assists in the game on Tuesday evening in the Champions League. 1 for Sterling, 1 for Torres. So actually, I think he is kind of creeping his way back in.
Is he back though, or is he gonna? There's something not quite right at Man City at the minute. I'm struggling to put my finger on it. I think it is the number 9 thing.
I think so.
And it's the balance and the dynamic that they don't have by not having one of those players there. I do actually think Ferran Torres, or indeed Phil Foden, has been mooted as kind of playing in that false 9 position going forward. But I feel it's probably going to be Sterling, and therefore that affects the dynamic in KDB, right?
It does. I mean, we'll have to see who plays there. I think for me, and you know, Sheffield United had a good game against Liverpool.
They did. They really brought the game to Anfield, yeah.
They did, and that was the best I'd seen Sheffield United play, and I think that will give them some confidence going into the Sheffield United game, going into this game against Manchester City, But I think if Manchester City play as they did in the Champions League on Tuesday evening, they'll have too much for Sheffield United, and as a result of that, obviously, KDB's going to be, if they're going to score goals, KDB will be involved in them. And obviously, there's the penalty thing that comes with KDB as well. So for me, I think he's a nice pick. As a non-owner at the moment, I'm quite glad to see his ownership low because I think he could do some really
Got a plan
nice
to get him
things.
back into your actual FPL team?
Well, I mean, I'm planning for so many people at the minute because I'm planning for Chilwell and I'm planning for this one and that one. And it's a lot of budget that's got to go around, particularly with the Spurs boys still doing so well. They were my entry point for all these other guys, and how can you take them out right now?
Yeah, me too. I put a lot of money into Son and Kane thinking, well, when the City players get back and when KDB comes back, I'll sell those guys and maybe switch it about. But I can't sell them. Can't sell those guys at the minute. So right now, certainly for this week, Kevin's going to have to wait. But
it's painful, isn't it?
At 15.3, I'm so tempted because it's like, what an amazing differential. On any given day, you know what Kevin De Bruyne is all about. But after Sheffield United, folks, keep an eye on the fixture list. Liverpool and Spurs, I think, after that for Man City. So very important few weeks for Man City. Because if they go out of those 3 games and they come out with, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 points out of potential 9, they're going to be well behind in the title race, aren't they? So very important times for KDB and for Man City. I'm going to go with Sadio Mane. Squeaks in for me at 9.5%, which is still unbelievable differential for Mane. And I'll tell you what, if I had a straight choice, maybe there's some of you guys out there, get in the comments below. If you've got Salah and Mane, or even if you've got one or the other, let me know if you're captaining them against West Ham this week. And I'm particularly interested if you've got both, who are you going to go with? Because if I had both, and I don't think my team structure allows for that right now, but if I did, I'd have the armband on Mane.
Would you?
Absolutely would. And I hear what you're saying. You know, Salah scored a couple of fantastic goals this season. He's got the penalties, of course.
Last week, Salah.
Very unlucky. He did get into really nice positions. But I think Mane, some of the underlying stats of Mane are fantastic. If you look between game weeks 1 and 5, the XGI, I know you love a bit of XG, the XGI, expected goal involvement for Mane, actually higher than Salah. And of course, Salah's got the penalties. He scored 2 penalties as well.
Yeah.
So if you strip out and you do the non-penalty XGI, Mane is like double that of Salah.
And he's
absolutely
outscored
incredible,
Salah, hasn't he, over the last 3 or 4 game weeks by quite a significant number, like 20 points or something.
Well, since he come back from his Corona break, actually, and all of those XG stats that I've just sort of touted there are all with him actually playing fewer minutes than Salah because he missed I think he missed 1 game because of the coronavirus isolation. So Mane looks on red hot form. Yet a lot of FPL managers, myself included, are going with Salah because of the penalties, because he's passing the eye test. Listen, not going to put you off of Salah at all. And if you want to captain him at home against West Ham this weekend, not going to put you off that at all. But a straight choice, it comes down to Mane for me, and I was very happy to see him under 10%. I'm going to stick him right in the differential.
I think it's interesting, isn't it? Because for me, Salah's always been the go-to choice at Liverpool. As you say, mostly that's penalty stuff, but it's also been the relationship with Trent and how they work together down that side. But this season so far, that's been a bit interrupted by Henderson and his positioning on the field. And Trent hasn't been quite as gung-ho, maybe. He hasn't been going all the way up the field. Whereas on the other side,
last couple of games, we've started to see a bit.
Slightly more, but then it's getting better, right? And we saw against Sheffield United that, you know, they could have easily got a goal between them there had it not been VAR'd for offside. But down the other side, with Robertson and Mane, their relationship has kind of gone to a whole new level this season in a way that it just didn't quite click for them last year. But now they're in a really, really nice run of form. They're working really well as a partnership. And as a Salah and Trent owner, the Mane and Robbo duo...
You're getting envious of that left-hand side, aren't you?
It does worry me quite a bit, yeah, I will admit that. And I think it's a really nice pick. I think West Ham, look, they've been the surprise package for me of the season so far in terms of this horrible fixture period that they've had and the way that they've performed. Can they get something against Liverpool at Anfield? Well, the defence isn't looking great, but I do think Liverpool will get some. They'll get some goals in that game for sure because, you know, West Ham can be a bit leaky as well.
All right, well, Sheffield United almost got something out of Anfield. I expect West Ham to come along and be physical and be aerially dominant as well, especially without Van Dijk at the back. Their balls in the box, but of course
Maybe
no.
Fabinho as well.
Well, Fabinho absolutely looks out, but probably no Antonio for West Ham as well. It's a key threat for them. So, going to be an intriguing game at Anfield at the weekend. Shock horror. Sam has picked Harry Kane as her over 10% striker at the weekend.
Who else would you pick?
Listen, I can't argue with it, but it's getting a bit boring, isn't it?
Who did you have last week?
Can you pick somebody new?
Who did you have pick last week?
Just try and
Who did you pick
go
last
a bit
week?
outside the box.
Who did you pick last week?
Of course I picked Harry Kane.
I mean, of
You
course.
can't not pick Harry Kane right now.
I mean, look, he has. I think we should now call him Harry KDB Kane because his assist potential at the moment is enormous. He has got more assists now. This is his record of assists in the Premier League in a season with 8. He's still got 32 game weeks to go and he's already beaten his record. He has been directly involved in 13 goals so far this season, 8 assists and 5 goals. That is a Premier League record after 6 matches. He's only beaten in the stakes of points scored by his teammate Sonny, who could easily also have been my midfielder of choice for this week. And it's becoming that kind of flip-flop. And actually, if you remember last time I had the premiums, I did have Sonny and I didn't have Kane. On the basis that you love to wind me up about it. But I'm going to pick him every week. As soon as I've got premiums, every single week. I cannot understand why he's not owned by 100% of the game.
41.2% owned him. You cannot argue with that. You cannot argue that. He is bang on form. But Sam, that's such an obvious pick. And I have gone out there this week.
Of course you have.
And with some of my differential picks on these videos before, I've been out there, haven't I? I've been out there. This goes out there and then goes a little bit further.
Go on then.
This is not a player, by the way, I suggest you get in your FPL teams. But for 1 week only, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Carlin Grant from West... Don't laugh! Grant at West Bromwich Albion's got off to a flyer in his first couple of games. Got off the mark already last week in that draw that West Brom got. So he's looking pretty good. Ownership, Sam? 0.0. Literally,
nobody.
No one has this guy. So if you bring him in away at Fulham, and by the way, Fulham, as we know, we've said before on these videos and on our FPL Family videos, how bad. In fact, you don't even need to listen to these videos to know how bad Fulham are defensively. Yeah. You've only got to look at them and watch them on the TV, and they appear to be getting worse. Actually, going forward, they look a bit better with Lookman, etc. But at the back, not looking too good. They are second worst for XGC over the first few game weeks with 10.23. Only team worse than that is actually Grant's West Brom. But there's going to be two terrible defences coming up against each other. So I'm going to go for the £6 million man, Carlin Grant. Crazy or what?
See, I think that Lee's listened to me talking on the official FPL podcast this week because I had West Brom and Fulham as my game of choice for this week.
Right.
And one of the players that I touted as a potential
You talked about him on the pod.
Was Grant.
Right, so we've recorded this on the same day that you recorded that podcast. It's not actually available to listen to right now.
Well,
at time of recording,
I think
the
it's
official
been
FPL pod
for
this week.
about an hour, so you might have had a cheeky listen.
Right, get out. Get out. It's my pick.
Right.
Carlin Grant, 0.0% owned.
Genuinely, I am a bit worried about this one because I've genuinely thought about bringing him in this week in my actual FPL team.
Why?
Because West Brom, I know I get what you're saying about the goals conceded stuff, but West Brom have actually been really good defensively for the last couple of weeks. They've tightened up massively since
West Brom.
Yes, they have. So they're in fact, pod notes are
what
about to appear now.
The Ivanovic effect.
It is the Ivanovic effect. Yeah, absolutely. Because so West Brom. Hang on, let me just find my pod notes. Here you go. Game weeks 1 to 4, they conceded 13 goals, average of 3 a game, 3.25. Last 2 game weeks, they've conceded just 1, average of 0.5 per game.
That's the defence got nothing to do with Carlin Grant.
So what I'm saying is that what's happened at West Brom, and this is why I think he's a really nice pick, is that they've solidified themselves defensively so that the forwards can actually do some playing forward. They're not all trying to get back constantly to defend.
Bit of trust behind them now.
There's a little bit of security at the back suddenly because they've got a bit of leadership at the back. Fulham, on the other hand, have just gone, oh gosh, the defence is a mess. Let's just try and attack. And in doing that, let's get Lookman and let's, get Mitrovic. So they're just all, let's go and attack. But in doing that, they're leaving that defence even more vulnerable because they've got nobody there that's doing any defending. I mean, Tim Ream's there. So actually, I think we'll find is that Grant could be absolute FPL gold this week.
So there we go, guys.
I'm genuinely worried about this one.
Listen, Kane versus Grant.
If Grant outscores Kane,
there's an FPL head-to-head you didn't think you'd be hearing this week, guys. There we go. There's your video. There it is right there. Get in the comments below. Let us know. Team Sam or Team Lee. Has to be Team Lee this week with that pick, Karlan Grant. Come on, Karlan Grant. Kane, what is he? 41% owned. Karlan Grant owned by he's probably owned by just 41 people. He's probably owned by
just his mum.
Just him and his mum have got Karlan Grant in their FPL team. 0.0. If you want a differential, guys, hashtag Grant Gang. Get in the comments.
I'll bet you now that Grant outscores. Well, I was going to say outscores my whole team from last week, but they only got one. But he'll definitely outscore all of my premium. I had a load of premium guys last week. I had Aguero. I had Bale. You've got one that I genuinely think.
Karlan Grant's going to be the one. There we go, guys. Get in the comments below. Let us know. Hashtag Team Lee, hashtag Team Sam. Team Lee's defence, we've got Chilwell that you've picked against Reguilon.
Yeah.
Reguilon. We've got Kevin De Bruyne and Mane in midfield, the heavy hitters in midfield. And then where it is at is up front. Harry Kane against Karlan Grant. Come on, Karlan Grant. Guys, leave us a like before you go. Hit subscribe if you're new around here. And we'll see you next week when I'm going to make it 5-3 thanks to Karlan Grant. See you next time.
Bye, guys.